We all put on a brave face, don't we? We smile for the camera, we go about our days presenting a carefully curated version of ourselves to the world. But what lies beneath the surface? This is a story about one such tragedy. Our story takes us to Adelaide, Australia, a bustling city on the southern coast. Among them was Tarikjot Singh, a young man from Balala, India. He enrolled at UNISA, the University of South Australia, with his sights set on a degree in computer science. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, a storm was brewing. Jasmeen Kaur also called Adelaide home. She was studying to become a nurse at UNISA. It was at UNISA that the paths of Tarik and Jasmeen would collide. A friendship blossomed, evolving into something deeper, more intense. Tarikjot Singh's journey began in the heart of Punjab, India. Balala, his home village, was a small, tight-knit community. Tarik, a bright and ambitious young man, yearned for a life beyond the confines of his village. With heavy hearts but hopeful smiles, his parents bid farewell to their son as he embarked on a life-altering journey to Adelaide, Australia. Adelaide, the cosmopolitan capital of South Australia, welcomed Tarik with open arms. For Tarik, Adelaide represented a world of possibilities. Enrolling in the computer science program at UNISA was a dream come true. University life was a whirlwind of new experiences. Beneath Tarik's calm exterior, a maelstrom of emotions churned. The transition from a small village in India to a bustling Australian city had been anything but easy. He found solace in his studies, immersing himself in the world of algorithms and coding. Yet beneath the surface, a deep longing for connection, for love and acceptance continued to simmer. Jasmeen Kaur, a radiant soul, was the apple of her parents' eyes. In Adelaide, Jasmeen blossomed. She embraced the opportunities that came her way, excelling in her studies and forming deep connections. Driven by a deep empathy for others, Jasmeen felt a calling to ease suffering and bring comfort to those in need. Fate had a plan for Jasmeen and Tarik. Their paths intersected within the bustling corridors of UNISA. Small, insignificant encounters planted the seeds of connection. Jasmeen and Tarik found themselves drawn to the same study group, their shared academic interests bridging the initial awkwardness. What began as a casual friendship soon deepened into something more profound. Study sessions stretched late into the night, fueled by shared dreams and a growing sense of mutual understanding. Tarik found himself drawn to Jasmeen's infectious zest for life. Their connection blossomed into a love that burned bright and fierce. The relationship between Jasmeen and Tarik blossomed quickly. Jasmeen saw their love as something rare and precious. Tarik, for the first time in his life, felt truly seen and understood. Their families, initially cautious, were charmed by the intensity of their love. As the months passed, a subtle shift occurred in the dynamics of their relationship. Tarik's possessiveness began to take on a darker edge. Jasmeen, blinded by love, initially dismissed his behavior as signs of his deep affection. Her friends noticed the change in her. The once vibrant and carefree Jasmeen had become withdrawn and subdued. Tarik's control over Jasmeen extended to every aspect of her life. He isolated her from her family, discouraging her from visiting them. Jasmeen, trapped in a web of manipulation and emotional abuse, found herself increasingly isolated and alone. Her spirit, once so bright and full of life, began to dim. As Tarik's grip on Jasmeen tightened, his true nature began to reveal itself. He lashed out at her verbally, his words like poison darts. Jasmeen, desperate to salvage the remnants of the love she believed they once shared, made excuse after excuse for his behavior. The mask of normalcy that Tarik had so carefully constructed for the outside world was beginning to slip. The tension in Jasmeen and Tarek's relationship now crackled in the air between them. Jasmeen, her spirit worn thin by months of emotional abuse, found her courage. She began to assert her independence, to reclaim the pieces of herself that Tarek had chipped away. Her friends, their hearts breaking at the transformation they witnessed, rallied around her, urging her to leave before it was too late. One evening, in the quiet confines of their shared apartment, Jasmeen, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resolve, confronted Tarek. She told him she couldn't live like this anymore, that his possessiveness was suffocating her, his anger a constant threat that hung over her like a dark cloud. She pleaded with him to seek help, to address the demons that drove his destructive behavior. Tarek, his face contorted in a mask of rage and betrayal, refused to listen. He accused her of infidelity, of disrespecting his love, of trying to abandon him. His words, laced with venom, struck at the core of her being, chipping away at the last vestiges of her self-esteem. The man who had once showered her with affection, who had vowed to protect her, now stood before her a stranger, his eyes blazing with a terrifying intensity. Fear pulsed through Jasmeen's veins, cold and relentless. She realized the depth of his delusion, the danger of her situation. She had awakened a monster, and its rage, once unleashed, would not be easily contained. She knew she had to escape, to put as much distance between them as possible. In the early hours of a crisp March morning, while Tarek slept, Jasmeen gathered her courage and a few precious belongings. She moved silently, her heart pounding in her chest, her every sense on high alert. She slipped out of the apartment, the cool night air a welcome relief on her face, the taste of freedom bittersweet on her tongue. She sought refuge at a friend's house, her body trembling, her mind a whirlwind of fear and relief. She had escaped his clutches, but she knew it was only a matter of time before he realized she was gone. She thought of her family, their faces etched with worry, their voices filled with concern during their brief, intercepted phone calls. She yearned to hear their voices, to feel their love surround her, a shield against the darkness that threatened to engulf her. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, a chilling realization dawned upon Jasmeen. She had underestimated Tarek's possessiveness, the depths of his rage. He would not let her go easily. He would hunt her down, his jealousy a relentless predator, his anger a weapon waiting to be unleashed. On March 5, 2016, the city of Adelaide awoke to the news of a horrific crime. Jasmeen Kaur, a bright and promising nursing student, was found murdered. Her body, bearing the marks of a brutal and senseless act of violence, was discovered in a shallow grave on the outskirts of the city. The news sent shockwaves through the community, leaving a trail of grief and disbelief in its wake. Tarikjot Singh, the man who had once professed his love for Jasmeen, vanished. He became the subject of a nationwide manhunt, his face plastered on wanted posters, his name whispered with fear and revulsion. The once quiet and unassuming student was now a fugitive, a symbol of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most unassuming individuals. The city mourned the loss of Jasmeen, her life tragically cut short, her dreams left unfulfilled. Candlelight vigils were held, her name echoed in prayers, her memory cherished by those who knew and loved her. Her story, a chilling reminder of the insidious nature of domestic violence, sparked conversations about the importance of recognizing the warning signs, of seeking help, of breaking the cycle of abuse. The tragic story of Jasmeen Kaur serves as a stark reminder that the people we encounter in our daily lives, those we share our hopes and dreams with, are not always who they seem. Tarikjot Singh, in the beginning, presented a facade of normalcy. He was the quiet, ambitious student, dedicated to his studies, respectful towards others. He blended seamlessly into the tapestry of university life, his darkness hidden beneath layers of carefully constructed normalcy. But beneath this veneer of ordinariness, a storm brewed. The pressures of a new environment, the weight of cultural expectations, and a deep-seated insecurity festered within him, twisting his love for Jasmeen into a toxic obsession. He craved control, seeking to possess her entirely, to mold her into his ideal image, blind to the devastating consequences of his actions. Jasmeen, blinded by love and a desire to see the best in him, initially dismissed the red flags. She excused his possessiveness as passion, his controlling behavior as care. She normalized his abuse, convincing herself that his love, though flawed, was genuine. She clung to the hope that he could change, that the man she had fallen in love with still existed beneath the layers of anger and control. The truth, as it so often does, emerged slowly, revealing itself in subtle shifts in behavior, in veiled threats, in the gradual erosion of Jasmeen's spirit. Tarek's true nature, a toxic cocktail of insecurity and rage, simmered beneath the surface, erupting in bursts of anger, in acts of control and manipulation. He sought to isolate her from her support system, to make her entirely dependent on him, to trap her in a web of his own making. Jasmeen's tragic end reminds us that monsters don't always lurk in the shadows. They often hide in plain sight, their darkness concealed behind charming smiles, whispered promises, and carefully constructed facades of normalcy. They are the co-workers we share coffee with, the classmates we study alongside, the partners we open our hearts to, their true nature masked by the banalities of everyday life. The seeds of violence are often sown in the fertile ground of possessiveness and control. The desire to possess another human being, to dictate their every move, to extinguish their independence, is a dangerous path, one that often leads to heartbreak, despair, and, in the most tragic cases, irreversible acts of violence. Jasmeen's story is a stark reminder of the importance of recognizing the red flags of an abusive relationship. The subtle signs, often dismissed as harmless quirks or expressions of love, can be the harbingers of a darkness that can consume lives. The isolation, the control, the jealousy, the anger. These are not the hallmarks of love, but the warning signs of a dangerous obsession. It is imperative that we educate ourselves and those around us about the insidious nature of domestic violence. We must create safe spaces for victims to come forward, to share their stories without shame or judgment. We must challenge the societal norms that often silence victims, that perpetuate the cycle of abuse by blaming the victim rather than holding the abuser accountable for their actions. The fight against domestic violence requires a collective effort. We must be vigilant, observant, and willing to intervene when we witness red flags in our own relationships or the relationships of those around us. We must be a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of hope in the darkness, a reminder that love should empower, not destroy. The tragic story of Jasmeen Kaur is a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of the human heart. It's a stark illustration of how love, a force that can uplift and inspire, can twist and contort, transforming into a dangerous obsession that leaves devastation in its wake. Tarikjot Singh, driven by a toxic mix of insecurity and possessiveness, transformed from a seemingly ordinary student into a perpetrator of unimaginable cruelty. His actions, forever etched in the annals of Adelaide's history, serve as a stark reminder that evil often hides in plain sight, masked by normalcy, and fueled by a darkness that festers within. Jasmeen, a beacon of light and compassion, fell victim to a love that promised security, but delivered only pain and isolation. Her story underscores the importance of recognizing the red flags of abusive relationships, of understanding that possessiveness and control are not expressions of love, but rather the insidious tendrils of a darkness that can consume lives. Jasmeen's legacy, however, extends far beyond the tragedy of her untimely death. Her story, though heartbreaking, serves as a catalyst for change, sparking conversations about domestic violence, raising awareness of the subtle signs of abuse, and empowering individuals to break free from the chains of toxic relationships. Across Adelaide and beyond, Jasmeen's name is whispered with a mix of sorrow and resolve. Her memory fuels the fight against domestic violence, inspiring communities to create support systems, to offer refuge to victims, and to challenge the societal norms that perpetuate a culture of silence around abuse. In the wake of tragedy, there is always hope. Hope that Jasmeen's story will continue to inspire conversations, to empower bystanders to intervene, and to provide solace and strength to those trapped in the shadows of abuse. Hope that by sharing her story, we can prevent future tragedies and create a world where love is a source of strength, not a weapon of destruction.